I spent 2 or 3 years after Strictly Come Dancing trying to fit in somewhere. Wherever you need me, I'll go, I'll shapeshift, I'll grow taller, I'll grow shorter, I'll be everything, I'll be nothing.
Like a chameleon.
Total chameleon.
But that's exhausting, right?
It's totally exhausting. Every day waking up, I'm not sure who I should be today.
You're going from here to appear on Loose Women. How does it feel for you to go on a programme like that?
Any time going on live telly makes me feel physically sick.
Broadcasting, acting, winning Strictly in front of live audiences. No one would know about this anxiety.
So there's this conflict of being totally distractible. But when it comes to fulfilling a task, you won't see me for weeks. I am so hyped in on that one thing, and it works wonderfully for learning a script or learning choreography or learning scene work. Getting diagnosed with ADHD has allowed me, even in the last 2 weeks, a kind of language to myself that I always knew, an existence I always knew my entire life but never understood. And that makes sense.
Ori Oduba.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure. I've been looking forward to this for a really long time.
We have. I've loved getting to know you over the last few weeks, and now to have this conversation, I'm buzzing.
Do you know what? It feels like this might be one of the most important therapy sessions I've had in a long time.
Yeah.
And I think getting diagnosed with ADHD has allowed me, even in the last 2 weeks, a kind of language to myself that I always knew, an existence I always knew my entire life but never understood. And that makes sense.
That's profound. You're on a proper journey of self-discovery anyway, right?
It's amazing. It's happening at a rate of knots. And I'm struggling to keep up. But at the same time, I'm like, now I'm recognizing it, it's just flooding out of me. I think there's a part of my life that's kind of just was not restricted, but was just enclosed in a way that kind of suited external expectation, whether that's parents or school or work. And now that I've got to a place I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to let my authentic self come out. It is flooding out. And it's, yeah, I'm just trying to keep up.
Liberating.
I'm here for it.
When John lined us up for a conversation way prior to you coming into the process of assessment and then what's led to your diagnosis, I don't know if you remember, we had about an hour on the phone and we talked about everything. Didn't we? Yeah. And I rang John afterwards and said, I think I've just fallen in love with Ori. It's just such a personable guy, and you can see how you've built your career. But yet what you've just alluded to is the masking of who you now know you are and how you think about yourself has changed since your diagnosis. So how does that work for you now, 2 weeks in from before? Because you've always been a lovely guy, very popular, TV career, you're now on stage, treading the boards. What's the big shift within you then? Because outwardly, that doesn't perhaps always correlate to what you've just said. So what's the change in you?
Being unapologetic about it, kind of not feeling like I need to hide it, I guess, because I've always known. That's the crazy thing. I've always known there have been behaviors that I have gone about. There have been things that I love things a certain way, and I've always known them. And they've been normal to me, and I've known they would be completely abnormal to other people. In fact, to the point that I'd go, I think this could be annoying for other people, but I've always just had it as the way that I manage things. And that's been okay. It's just been a case of not necessarily showing it outwardly. And so I guess even in the last few weeks, I mean, I have so many examples that what's great about the title of the show is it's beyond the label. But finding out so recently, often I'm doing something, I'm going, oh my gosh, that's ADHD in full flow. The other day I went to the gym with a friend, and I haven't got it on actually. I bought this new bracelet that doesn't quite fit my hand, my wrist. And I was desperate for I'm not kidding, I finished in the gym. I spent 20 minutes trying to figure out a way that I could get this on my hand, around my wrist. And I thought, if anybody else was here, they would go, I'm going to leave you here and I'll see you in the cafe when you're done. And a friend of mine came to the gym with me the next week. And I went, okay, I'm not going to do the things that I would normally do because we haven't got time. I've left him waiting. He was expecting me. We'll chat, and I'm trying to concentrate with him. I'm trying to focus on the one thing that we have in common here. Meanwhile, trying to get changed and put all my things away. And I remember speaking to him and going, okay, don't worry about all the things that you need. Just do it and then leave. And as we started to go about leaving the changing room, I went, I'm so sorry, mate. I left something in the locker. I had to unlock the padlock and came back in. And okay, I think I found it. And I went back. 4 times that happened because I left my phone. I left my shoes. I left my water. I was trying so hard to do the thing that I knew we needed to do as a friendship that I was completely bypassing all the things that I would otherwise have done on my own. To the point that I spent more time wasted. I should have just gone, sorry, mate, I need 20 minutes to organize everything. And that's what I do in my own time that wouldn't ordinarily be understood by other people.
You're both on a similar journey. You're ahead of Ori.
By weeks. Only
by
weeks.
A matter of weeks.
Yeah, which you didn't know, actually.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
And what are you hearing in all of that resonates with you in your journey?
Similar stuff. I mean, I think what I really picked up on there is those moments of private kind of moments where you have a whole kind of, that makes sense now. And I've got to kind of 47 years old where I was always questioning these things. I was really hard on myself.
Yeah.
So those moments, I actually be a bit like, I must be annoying him or I'm going to be late because of this. I'm more at peace with that now and kind of have a bit more vulnerability, if you like, about the fact that, okay, this makes more sense. Would you say that you're at a stage already where you can be kinder to yourself because of understanding those traits?
Absolutely. And I think that has come as a result of a lot of the therapeutic practice that I've been doing for the last 2 years anyway, and just being kinder to myself and giving myself much more grace. And like I said, understanding something else about me just makes me so happy. And I just want to share it. I speak about it with everybody now. I don't know anything. And it must be crazy, me coming on this show, having just understood this. You, I'm sure, get lots of guests who understand and have lived and managed with their diagnosis for a long time. I'm like, tell me more, because it explains so much. And I actually think it's something that happens a lot, maybe in the performative industries. I think I've always found this and some of the behaviors, some of the symptoms translate a lot to what makes being successful in performing arts and being on stage. And when I was having my conversation with your clinician, Vicky, on the phone, when she just watched me for 2.5 hours and went, 100% ADHD. She talked about hyperfocus, and she talked about, I have inattentive ADHD. So there's this conflict of being totally distractible. But when it comes to fulfilling a task, you won't see me for weeks. I am so hyped in on that one thing. And it works wonderfully for learning a script or learning choreography or learning scene work, because we've got 3 weeks to put this thing together. We completely obsess over that one thing to the point that there actually isn't time to get it right in normal settings. Mm-hmm. If you'd seen me last night trying to go over my car, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm going, it has to be now because there's no other time in the day. I'm kind of bypassing things like food and sleep because of the task that I've got to do. And this takes me back to when I was a kid. I loved gaming. I was a huge gamer, and I loved football as well. And the two together, one of the things that I became quite obsessed about, because we didn't have a PlayStation. And at the time, all the cool kids had a PlayStation, but I still had the old Nintendo 64. And the last FIFA game on that Nintendo was FIFA 99. But for years afterwards, I was still playing FIFA 99. What I would do in order to make sure that I was up to date, I would get at the start of every season, I'd get the Sunday Times list of all the new transfers that had been made for that summer and that season. And I would take all the biggest signings, because you could only have 25 characters. You had a team of 20 and you could only make 5 new characters. And for every team, 20 Premier League teams, I would go, we're on the Sunday Times list, pick out the biggest transfers, go 5 here, okay, that's Charlton, that's Man United, that's Blackburn, that's Newcastle. And I would make those new 5 players. I'd change the hair, I would change the kit, I would change the boots, I'd change the name on the bag, I'd change the numbers, and I'd do that 20 teams times 5. It would take me until 5 o'clock in the morning, and then I would play.
Wow.
You wanted the details,
all the
accurate,
details.
correct?
And I was like, you can't, sorry, I missed dinner, breakfast and lunch.
Yeah.
But I was so happy in that moment. And as I come to understand about hyperfocus and feeding into that dopamine deficiency, I found something that I'm completely engaged with. I'm not blinking until this is finished.
Yeah.
The hyperfocus, you use the word obsession as well. We have a number of conversations with people on and off camera where that also can go into addiction. So that whole obsessing over something, and you can use that as a force for good, and you can use that as a force for real sort of negativity and bad for your health. What's been that sort of journey that you've had where you've managed, that's caused you sleep deprivation, that particular example, and when you hyper-focus on your scripts and so on, you excel at it on stage. But have you got a journey now that makes more sense because of the diagnosis, where things haven't been sort of positive for you?
Yeah, I always kind of knew I had an addictive personality. And it's interesting because we have diagnosed inattentive ADHD, but before I would have always said I have an addictive personality and I have OCD. Those are the 2 things I would always have described. I just knew. And it's kind of meant that I've struggled to, maybe it's just to fit in with way other people set about a task, and whether it is that example of really focusing on in this gaming example, or in adult life going, I'm obsessed with my work. I'm totally addicted to my work. For a long time as a kid, what I had to do to feel like I was seen or I had attention was I had to completely achieve in everything that I was doing. And where I found most vitality was on the sports field and on stage. Mm-hmm. And so if you ever wanted to find me in my happiest states, those would be the 2 places that I would be. And I think that's kind of carried on into adult life, to the point that for a long time, I don't have any hobbies. I just do the things that I love, but I'm so focused in and so obsessed with them that actually I'm not giving myself any space to just be. Yeah. And that's kind of, it's exhausting.
You talk about, and John's just explored there, the kind of positive nature of being addictive, an addictive personality by your definition. That can bring about challenges in life as well, can't it? Where you're seeking that dopamine rush. And those challenges can be quite difficult sometimes for all of us to both acknowledge and get over. Can we talk about your sister for a wee minute? Because you speak incredibly fondly about your sister, but her challenging journey and her link to her ADHD was clearly quite powerful. When we spoke on the phone, there was a power that came from you when we spoke about your sister.
I'll just help you, Phil, only because my sister, just before they died, told us that they'd been living their life as non-binary. And so whilst we all knew them as her, that we were to accept my sister as being they, them. So my sister had been searching for years for this diagnosis, and eventually got diagnosed with autism ADHD. And for them, it just explained, my sister gave me a little idea as to what they were struggling with. Mm-hmm. But for them, it just explained, again, a whole lifetime of behavior, a whole lifetime of wiring and mapping. And the person that, and it started to make so much sense to me, the person that when we were at home or at school was the nuisance, was the person that was too much, was the person that was too loud, was the person that was just difficult, challenging, loud. And I think when you get told that or fed that back as a child, that you're a problem at 8, 9 years old, of course you're going to start believing that. And it's so sad to think back in that day that we didn't have the diagnosis that we have. It's not just the diagnosis, as you guys do, this is your practice, it's not just the label, it's how we manage that, it's how we help kids understand who they are so that they can go out into the world with all the tools and best prepared as they possibly can. But my sister never had that. And so for their entire lives, they just thought that they were a problem. They thought that they were an issue. They thought that they would struggle to fit in. In fact, they did struggle to fit in despite seeking community in all sorts of places. God, my sister went to the university in Brighton, the most inclusive place in the country, and still found pockets of themselves that weren't accepted because they couldn't escape themselves being the problem. And that started way back at a time when they weren't even responsible for themselves. And so I think, again, and my sister, I think, I can't remember if it was you, John, or if it was you, Phil, or if it was producer Mike, telling me that ADHD is hereditary, because we had been talking about it, my sister and I, about their diagnosis. We also shared this sleep condition that went undiagnosed. We both at the same time went to a sleep clinic within about a week of each other, completely independently, and both got diagnosed with a sleep disorder. Unfortunately, the clinicians couldn't diagnose the disorder. And I remember coming away from an overnight sleep clinic going, that's really unhelpful, because they know I've got a problem, but they can't put their finger on it. And when I found out that it's hereditary, and I knew that my sister and I had been sharing so much of these behaviors, add in the sleep, now I understand that this constant overstimulus and distraction and dopamine highs and hits, and essentially nervous system just being on and alive 24/7. No wonder why from as early as I can remember, I've always been, it's been a joke, or he's always tired, he's always asleep. Whether it's in the back of a classroom, back of a minibus.
If they were here now, what would she want you to say on this programme for the benefit of other people?
Do you know what? I think my sister has said it better, because I brought a poem that they wrote.
Go for it.
Would you mind if I read it? They actually wrote so much spoken word stuff. And I was going through their things that they allowed us to try to discover and find, and my sister wrote so much stuff. And oh my God. Okay, they wrote so many things here, but at the bottom of it they wrote 2 poems, and one of them just really hit home. So, powered by a motor running electric, the deep hum of a refrigerator, constant, unceasing. The light flicks on when you open the door, a clever little switch. But my light, it's always on. Currents coursing through veins, no blood, all battery. The central hub, an industrial power plant, stoking fires, putting them out only to stoke again, making more work for itself. It's meant to beat, send platelets, cells, red and white, to the flesh and organs where they're needed the most. Instead it whirs mechanically, frantically, over greased chains, threatening to throw the whole system out of gear. It urges, I follow. I urge, it follows. From deep hum to shrill rattle, unsteady and frenetic reverberation. I'm tired.
Wow. You okay?
Ah. I miss her every day, guys. I miss her every day. But they've just helped me understand so much about them and so much about myself. You know, my sister was my flesh and blood, but we kind of found much more about ourselves in the last few years, kind of the same closeness that we had when we were kids.
Yeah.
And so it's, when I see stuff like that, I'm like, there's so much that I wanted to know about you and I was looking forward to that I'll never get a chance to. But at the same time, you know, my sister's been with me every day since they passed, and in many ways I feel closer to them. And to be able to do things like this, you know, my sister taught me through a lot of the work that they were doing, a lot of the creativity that they were doing. And here's another mad thing, is that my sister was so lost and found such difficulty internally that they did so much living, so much external living, and they found so many creative avenues: artwork, paintwork, spoken word, singing, choirs, comedy, improvisation. And actually at their funeral, at their celebration of life, you couldn't fit all of these people in the chapel.
Mm-hmm.
There were people outside the door because of all of the people that they brought together in their last years. But that was, for me, just an example of how much life and how much vitality, and whether it was partly in ADHD, just like, I've got so much to do. They're just the most remarkable person. And I've got to understand them now since they've gone.
You've got so much to say, and you say it so articulately. Changing the beat for a second. Let's change the beat. You're going from here to appear on Loose Women.
Yes.
Yeah, a completely change of focus and a complete change of lens and optics. How does it feel for you to go on a program like that, where they've got an agenda, you've got an agenda of what you want to say, and you've got the refrigerator constantly pumping around in you? You've got to focus and concentrate. How do you manage that? How do you feel going into that this afternoon?
Well, you've hit something there, Phil. It's funny because a lot of people, I established a career in telly, and I've now established a career on stage, and a lot of people go, "Oh, do you miss telly?" I've now discovered the thing that I think I was always meant to do. I still love broadcasting, and I still love doing live, you know, being on stages live in many realms. But I have not ruminated over one appearance longer. From like, any time going on live telly makes me feel physically sick. No one would know that. I'm so overcome with anxiety. And I think half of it is because it's me. It has to be me, but at the same time, like you say, you've got to come up with an agenda. I'm promoting a program. You know, I've got an idea of where the conversation is going to go. It's performative, but unlike being on stage where you can bring on the mask and you can fall in line with the script and the narrative that has already been pre-assigned, this is just me having to bear my full self, but in a way that's behind a kind of veil. Mm-hmm. It's a very strange existence. Now, I found it quite difficult for a number of years before I discovered stage. And so, yeah, going on to a set where there's 4 or 5 different voices, I've always struggled in groups. I'm much better one-on-one or one-on-two. But if there's a group scenario like 5 or 6 people chatting, I will be silent. Happy to listen, but can't speak because I never feel like I've got the voice.
This is fascinating to me. Where do you think RSD fits into this, the rejection side of things? Just wondering whether there's a part of the live telly, because I would really struggle with that.
I just found that out today. I was reading an article that my sister sent me. RSD.
Yeah.
Huge part of ADHD.
And I'm intrigued because there's Loose Women, which you, as the mature version of yourself, with all your accomplishments, all the things you've done, broadcasting, acting, winning strictly in front of live audiences, no one would know about this anxiety. But also a young Ori coming through, wanting to be centre stage and a show person, but at the same time, going for acting roles, going for all these broadcasting roles, you are facing rejection at any one time. It's a brutal industry.
Yeah, I've had to learn, and maybe when it comes to work, because I've kind of built up this robustness, this resilience around it, it's easier for me to translate it and understand that, sure, if you go for an audition, you might not get it. I can put my focus back into the next thing, or I can pivot. It's something that I've always found has been a bit of a strength of mine. I can kind of reattribute my skills in another realm. But when it comes personal, brutal. And whether it is young love and the first person I've ever fell in love with at school, to, and this is the thing that I did find very difficult, and I have found very difficult in telly. A lot of the work is, a lot of the time you're offered a job based on your personality, on who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea that you might not get that job subsequently is personal.
Yes. Yeah.
And so for me, I spent 2 or 3 years after Strictly Come Dancing trying to fit in somewhere. Round peg, square hole, wherever you need me, I'll go. I'll shapeshift, I'll grow a beard, I'll shave my hair, I'll wear a waistcoat, I'll grow taller, I'll grow shorter, I'll be everything, I'll be nothing.
Like a comedian.
Total chameleon.
But that's exhausting, right?
It's totally exhausting. Every day waking up, I'm not sure who I should be today. Who am I meeting? What show am I on? Okay, I think this is more skewed this way. I think it's more skewed that way. Okay, right, I've got the wardrobe. I just need to plug into that person. I mean, as we all know, you're never going to be content if you're continuously struggling to be someone that someone else wants you to be. There's no result there. There's no success there whatsoever. You're literally striving to something that does not exist. But I was doing it for 2 or 3 years, and then when they reject you, you go, I have nothing to fall back on. I've tried to be everything you want me to be, and I'm still not enough. And that was really hard, because in the public sphere on television, you're up for, your character is up for assassination. Your character is up for questioning. If they like you, that's great. If they don't like you, you're out. And so there's this constant struggle to be relevant, to be seen, to be enough, to be funny, to be whatever. And I'm like, I've got lucky. I got lucky because I went, I can't do this anymore. In fact, more than anything, COVID stepped in and went, I don't know what that was. I get to rebuild. And obviously in the last couple of years, now going, right, I know I'm enough. I know I've got enough. I know all of the skills. I'm still learning, I'm still growing, but I know what I can offer. And if that's not going to work out here, I'm going over there. That's fine by me.
And if we fast forwards that newfound Ori, post-pandemic, post the TV, into theatre, on the stage, panto, those kind of things, you've now got your diagnosis. You now understand why you've had those challenges more. You can relate more to other family members' challenges and bring all that forward to the constant day. As we wind out this interview, which I have to say has been one of the most emotive and powerful interviews I've ever done. Thank you for that. You've got your diagnosis. You now understand yourself a little bit more.
Yeah.
What's the next stage of that self-discovery journey for you then, do you think?
The minute you say it, Phil, I feel like it's being kind to the kid that I was.
Yeah. A lot of people think and say that, being kinder in reflection.
Yeah. And
take that forward.
And totally taking it forward, because one of the, I think I said this on our last conversation, John, was that for a lot of us, you ask yourself, can you remember who you were before the told? I got it wrong the last time. Can you remember who you were before the world told you who you should be? And I've started to remember who that kid was. all of the life, all of the vitality, all of the fun, all of the friendships. Man, I'm diving way more into friendships. There was a point that I just forgot all of those things that make me feel me. All of those behaviors, all of those things that I tried to hide because I thought they were going to get scolded or they were going to get punished for, or they weren't going to fit in, or you weren't going to be a prefect at school, or you wouldn't be made the captain, or it wouldn't kind of be acceptable. I go, those were all me. Those made up me. And now I get to action them. I get to celebrate them.
And be you.
And be me. And I love it.
I can feel that mask has been removed.
Totally.
And I've almost felt you doing that and taking it off whilst we've got to know each other. And we were talking about that vulnerability in particularly men, 3 men round a table having a conversation where you're prepared to cry.
Yeah.
You're prepared to be vulnerable, which draws that out of other people that are still behind their own mask, ADHD or not. And I think that's a huge compliment to you. That, you know, again, the emotive side of the conversation where you're bringing you. You're not leaving anything behind, and you're having a conversation that inspires other people to think, I can do that. I can try and be like that.
I appreciate that, John. And I just think what's so wonderful about this table, about this space, is you're just allowing people to exist as who they are. And so often in the world that we live in today, it has to be prescriptive. It has to be a certain way. It's all very based on comparison. And so that naturally forces people to siphon off the bits of them that they understand as themselves so that they can conform. And it's killing people. It's ruining lives. It's meaning they can't live their full selves. And then at some point, it either pops or they come, thankfully, as some of us are going, I can't do this anymore. I've got to find another way. And so it's just being at a place where you can understand who you are and share it. And then and you accept yourself and you allow other people to accept you. It's really, really powerful.
I'm glad that you came into my life in the most authentic version of you that you've ever been. And it's been a privilege to interview you and a privilege to know you genuinely.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, we both look forward to this so much.
Me too.
You're vibing off it, counting down the days.
Yeah.
So thank you for making time. We know how busy you are. You've got rehearsals coming up for pantomime. You've got all the stage stuff you're doing, loose women straight after this. So thank you for fitting it in.
Not at all. But you know, I'd spend more time. I've got so many examples here that I'm like, but do you remember when you did that? Do you remember when you did that? Do you remember when you did that?
We might have to do a round.
We'll have to do another round too, because there are so many things I'm like, yeah.
Well, make a note of them all, because I'm doing that, and we're on a similar, and we should reconvene and film again, because this has been a conversation we look forward to and we've loved. So thank you.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Good man.
Cheers.